Hello everyone, welcome back. What an extraordinary week it has been for sports. With everything that's been happening in cricket, F1, tennis, and football. First, I'm going to talk about what's happening in West Indies, the T20 internationals, which just completed today. Before I get into the details of the series, let's talk about West Indies' batting lineup. Opener Lendl Simmons, Chris Gale, Nicholas Pooran, Hetmyer, DJ Bravo, Andre Russell, and if Pollard's fit, he comes in as well. That's the most formidable batting lineup in T20 right now. Even if one of them clicks, they can take the game away from the opposition. Their bowling isn't as strong as their batting, but even if they have to chase a huge total, they can definitely do that. They may not be the favourites to win the World Cup coming later in the year, but they're definitely the top contenders for it. The recent 5-match T20 series against Australia was played in St. Lucia in Darren Sammy Cricket Ground. In the first match, West Indies batted first. They started off very slowly. It looked like they wouldn't even get to a total of 120. But Andre Russell came in. He blasted off to his first T20 50, which turned out to be the turning point of the entire match. In the bowling department for Australia, Hazelwood was the pick of them. If not for the last ball 6, he would have finished with the figures of 3 for 6 from his 4 overs. In reply, Australia started off really well. Mitch Marsh, who came in number 3, scored his first T20I 50. Australia were cruising along with a score of more than 100 runs in the first 10 overs. But that's when the collapse started, which handed the victory to West Indies. The bowling performance of McCoy and Walsh paved the way for their victory. The first match victory of West Indies played a pivotal role in setting the tone for the entire series. In the second match, West Indies batted first again. Lendl Simmons set it up with some hefty blows on the top of the order. But the real damage came in through the 100-plus partnership between Hetmyer and DJ Bravo. Even though Hetmyer was dismissed for 61, then came in Andre Russell, who gave the finishing touches to the innings. West Indies finished off with a score of 196. Australian bowlers, every single one of them was taken for a toll except for Agar. Australia didn't get off to a good start. Both the openers were dismissed cheaply. Mitch Marsh was again phenomenal with his bat, scoring a back-to-back 50. But once he fell, there was not much fight put on by the Aussies. When it comes to West Indies bowling, everybody chipped in. Walsh was the pick of their bowlers by picking up 3 important wickets in the middle order. In the end, West Indies won comfortably by 56 runs. In the third T20I, Australia batted first, but the result was no different. It was not a great batting performance by Australia. Their scoring rate was pretty slow. Finch scored 30, but it was not that impressive. He scored with a rate of less than a run a ball. It was some hitting by Henriques and Turner, which took them to a decent total of 141. When it comes to West Indies bowling, again, the pick of the bowlers was Walsh, who gave away just 18 runs from his 4 overs. West Indies' batting was all about Christopher Henry Gale, the universe boss. He was in his lethal best, and Australia had no answer to him. He smoked a lot of boundaries, and in the process, he crossed 14,000 runs in T20. He's the first man to cross that landmark. After he got out, it was captain Nicholas Pooran and the big man Andre Russell who finished things off in style for West Indies to clinch the series. In the fourth T20I, Australia batted first. Finch was lucky in the start. One of his edges went between the keeper and the first slip. He capitalized on it and went on to score a 50 for his team. Form Marsh has been in. He scored a quick fire 75, which was the backbone of the Australian innings. Finally, Dan Christian scored some quick runs to finish things off for Australia. And once again, Walsh was the pick of the West Indies bowlers, picked up 3 important wickets. West Indies started off pretty well. Lendl Simmons and Evan Lewis putting up a partnership of 50 plus before Adam Zampa cleaned up Evan Lewis. Simmons went on to complete his half century and fell for 72. Marsh had a field day with bowling as well. He picked up 3 important wickets along with his 75 coming in at number 3. I have no words to describe the last over ball by Mitchell Starc. West Indies needed 11 runs of the over. Andre Russell was in strike. Mitchell Starc bowled all the 6 deliveries to Andre Russell, gave away just 6 runs, that too of the last delivery of the over. With 25 runs being scored from the penultimate over, the momentum was definitely with the West Indies. But kudos to Starc for an awesome over to get the win for the Aussies. In the 5th and final T20, West Indies batted first. Chris Gale scored at a very good pace to give West Indies a platform to dominate. Ivan Lewis played a cracker of an innings, scoring 9 big sixes to get to his 79. Lendl Simmons, who didn't open the innings in this match, didn't score as freely as he did in the rest of the series. It was Nicholas Pooran's quick-fire innings in the end, which got them to a total of one short of 200. When it comes to Australian bowling, Zampa and Marsh shined, but the others leaked a lot of runs. In the Australian innings, Marsh continued his dominance with the bat with a brilliant 30, only to be dismissed by a great return catch by Russell. Finch, Henriques and Wade, they all chipped in, but they all got out in the wrong time. For West Indies bowling, Cottle, Russell and Walsh were among the wickets, but Russell and Walsh were really expensive. West Indies had it easy in the end, winning by 16 runs and clinching the series 4-1. Throughout the series, I've been really impressed with the fielding of Fabian Allen. The commentators kept calling him the best in the side, and he did prove why. Next, we move on to the England Women versus India Women T20 series, which happened in England. In the first T20I, India won the toss and elected to field. England had a good start with a 50-plus opening partnership. Wyatt scored 31, Shiver and Jones scored a quick-fire innings of 55 and 43 respectively. This paved the way for a really good score for England of 177. India's batting started off on a wrong note, losing the explosive Shefali Verma for a duck in the first over. But Smriti and Harleen were in a good partnership before Smriti fell. India lost their captain Harmanpreet Kaur immediately as well, which was kind of the reason India lost the match when rain interrupted play in the 9th over. English bowling was not really tested. Everyone chipped in with an over or two without going for much. In the end, England won by 18 runs in the Duckworth-Lewis system. I can't move on to the next match without talking about the catch taken by Harleen Doyle in the boundary. According to me, that's the best catch I've seen in women's cricket. In the second T20I, England won the toss and elected to field. They had an excellent opening stand of 70 runs, out of which most of the runs came from the bat of Shefali Verma. After the opening partnership, India kept chipping away with good knocks by captain Harmanpreet and Deepti Sharma to take India to a total of 148 in their 20 overs. England's bowling performance was really good. 3 out of the 6 bowlers they used went for less than 6 runs an over. India had a great start to their bowling by picking up 2 early wickets, but they faced some resistance from Beaumont and Captain Knight. Once Beaumont was dismissed, England innings came tumbling down to 140 for 8 in 20 overs. The Indian bowling was pretty impressive, with 3 of their bowlers bowling their full quota of overs and going for less than 6 runs an over. India won by 8 runs. This meant England were on 8 points and India was at 6 points, and it kept the series alive till the last match of the multi-format series. In the third T20I, India won the toss and elected to bat. Choosing to bat first, India had a very poor start, losing Shefali for a duck and Harleen for 6. Opener Smriti and Harmanpreet had a good partnership going on. They scored 64 runs before the skipper fell. Smriti went on to score a very good 70, which was the backbone of the Indian innings, which ended at 153 for 6 from the allocated overs. The English bowling was spearheaded by Eccleston, who finished with 3 for 35 from her 4. In reply, England batting was flawless and they went on to chase the score down with 8 balls to spare. Opener Wyatt carrying her bat with a good score of 89 not out, and she also had a very good partnership of 112 runs with Shiva. And the Indian bowling didn't really test the English batting. With England winning the match by 8 runs, they clinched the series, the multi-format series, by 10-6. India's performance throughout the series was pretty good, considering the fact they were playing in English conditions, and this was their first series away from home since the 2019 T20 World Cup. Next series I'm going to talk about is England versus Pakistan One-Day International Series. In the first ODI, England won the toss and elected to bowl. Put into bat by England, Pakistan had a very poor start. They lost their opener Imamul Haq for the first delivery of the match and Babar Azam in the third delivery of the match. Both the wickets picked up by Shakib Mohammad. Pakistan never really recovered from that. They kept losing wickets in regular intervals, except for some resistance by Fakhar Zaman, who scored a good 47. English bowling was all about Shakib Mohammad. He picked up his career best figures of 4 for 42. Other bowlers did a good job as well, with Gregory, Overton and Parkinson all among the wickets. Pakistan were bundled out for 141 in less than 36 overs. In response, England batted pretty well, with David Marlon not letting the Pakistani bowlers settle down, scoring an unbeaten 68. On the other end, Crawley was unbeaten for 58 as well, which meant England wrapped up the innings in 22 overs and won the match by 9 wickets. In the second ODI, Pakistan won the toss and elected to bowl. In this encounter in Lords, Pakistan did a really good job in the initial stages of the match, picking up both Marlon and Crawley for 0. James Vince and Salt put on a partnership of 97 runs. Captain Stokes, Gregory and Carrs chipped in as well, but England were dismissed for 247 in 46 overs. Hassan Ali was pick of the Pakistani bowlers, picking up a fifer. Pakistan were really in a good position to level the series as 248 looked like a chaseable target. But the English bowlers had other plans. They got them down to 36 for 3. Pakistan didn't really have any partnerships going on, with most of their batsmen getting to a start but getting out after that. Shakil was the only batsman who got a half century, but Pakistan were eventually bundled out for 195, which was 52 runs short of the target. Every English bowler picked up a wicket, and their star bowler once again was Shakib Mohammed with the figures of 2 for 21 from his 8 overs. In the third ODI, England won the toss and elected to bowl. Pakistan's batting was all about Babar Azam. He scored his first 50 in 71 balls, but he scored his next 108 runs in 68 balls. That was the kind of mood he was in once he got to his 50. He was supported well by Imamul Haq, who scored 56, and also by Rizwan, who scored a quick fire 74. Pakistan went on to score 331 runs from their 50 overs. The bowling lineup that they have, they were pretty confident to defend the score and avoid a clean sweep. England were pacing the chase pretty well, but they kept on losing wickets in regular intervals. At one stage, they were 165 for 5, and it looked like Pakistan were in control. James Vince and Gregory put on a brilliant partnership of 129 to take the game away from Pakistan. Even after losing both these batsmen, England went on to chase the score with 2 overs to spare. This was England's 11th 300 plus successful run chase, the highest by any team in this format. Let me talk about India's tour of Sri Lanka, which starts today. These sides haven't faced each other in a while, and I believe it should be a good contest. India has sent a second team to play in Sri Lanka. India able to do that in itself is pretty formidable. Shikhar Dhawan gets to captain the Indian side for the first time, and from his interviews it looks like he's really looking forward to it. According to me, the Indian players to watch out are Shikhar Dhawan, close to completing 6,000 runs in ODI, a chance to better Sourav Ganguly's record of the second fastest Indian to get to that milestone. I'm excited about Devdutt Padikkal's debut. Let's see how he fares. Can Manish Pandey use this chance to show his class and cement his place in the Indian side? Back in England, Rishabh Pant has been tested positive for COVID-19. Ridhiman Saha is also in isolation. Interestingly, Dinesh Karthik, who is in England as a commentator, tweeted a picture of his kit bag showing that he's available as a replacement. The bubble rules have been pretty lenient. I saw pictures of Rishabh Pant attending the Euro 2020, Ravi Shastri attending the Wimbledon, a few English players testing positive as well. Will the bubble rules change? Let me know what you think in the comments. Let's move on to Formula 1. This year, Max Verstappen has shown his dominance since the street circuits have come in. He has shown who is boss by winning both the races in Red Bull's home Grand Prix in Austria. Hamilton has committed a few mistakes, which was a rare sight in the last 2 seasons. Is the pressure getting onto him? Bottas has shown some form by finishing in the podium in the last 2 races. Will he be able to secure his spot in Mercedes for the next season, or as rumor has it, will be replaced by George Russell? Lando Norris, what a season he's having. He's the only driver to finish in points in all the 9 races. Doing a lot better than his experienced teammate Daniel Ricciardo. Yesterday we saw the first sprint qualifying. Even though Hamilton was at pole in the Friday's qualifying, Verstappen was able to easily overtake Hamilton even before the first turn in the sprint. Will Hamilton be able to win the race and make his home crowd happy? Let's wait and see. Let's move on to tennis. Last week we saw 2 special victories. First one is Ash Barty winning the Wimbledon women's singles title on the 50th anniversary of fellow Aussie Yvonne Colley's victory. It is the first time in 41 years an Australian woman has won this title. It was a wonderful and emotional moment, and she was all tears. With the border closures and mandatory quarantine in Australia, she has a long road ahead, and won't be returning home till the end of the season. Karolina Pliskova played her heart out in taking the finals to the third set, but Ash Barty had the best of her. Barty Party was trending in Australia, and it did feel good. Will we get to see her lifting the trophy here at home in the Aussie Open? The next one is Novak Djokovic winning his 6th Wimbledon title, completing his three-peat, winning in 2018, 19 and 21. Finals with Berrettini was really a hard-fought battle for 3.5 hours. It was a really intense match. Novak has now equaled the record of 20 Grand Slams with Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal. He's already confirmed his participation in the Olympics. It'll be great to see him get the gold in Tokyo and continue his form to win the US Open, to win the Golden Slam and also the Calendar Slam. If he completes the Calendar Slam, he will be the second male tennis player to do it after Rod Laver did it in 1969. There are only 4 players who has won a career Golden Slam. They are Steffi Graf, Andre Agassi, Serena Williams and Rafael Nadal. Steffi Graf is the only player to have won a calendar Golden Slam. Novak now has the chance to be the first man to do it. In the Olympics women's draw, Osaka has now confirmed her appearance for Japan. Will it be a Barty versus Osaka showdown? Let's wait and watch. One of my favorite moments in this year's Wimbledon was when young kid Samir Banerjee won the boys' championship. He was ranked 14 when he started the tournament, but now he is ranked 2. The winning speech that he gave, he sounded really humble and he himself was shocked that he won the tournament. Hopefully he does well and goes places in the future. Let's move on to football and the Euro 2020 finals. It was a very dramatic encounter. I always thought England playing at home in Wembley in front of their home crowd with Dutch and Duchess of Cambridge in the crowd as well, they are going to lift the trophy. England went 1-0 up by a second-minute goal by Shaw, but the Italians kept pushing and pushing, only to score in the 66th minute by Bonucci. Once the scores were level, both the teams didn't take many chances. It went on to extra time and then to penalties. The penalty shootout was really intense. England were 2-1 up after both teams taking 2 shots each. The next 3 shots by each of the teams, Italy scored twice and England scored none. Rashford, Sancho and Saka missing their penalties to give the victory to Italians. Pickford was really good in blocking 2 shots. The Italian goalie, Donnarumma, was excellent as well. It was a very emotional loss for England, who have been chanting it's coming home since the start of the tournament, only to fail in the last hurdle. Coach Southgate has to relive his penalty miss even in this match, and he was seen consoling Saka after the match was over. Italy was undefeated throughout the tournament, and they currently have a 34-match undefeated streak. The English loss was further tarnished by their fans when they attacked the Italian fans in the stadium. They also damaged a lot of property in London. Images of them behaving really badly has been floating around in social media as well. And worst of all, several of the fans were racially abusing the 3 young boys who missed the penalties. England's captain, Harry Kane, stepped up to call those people not the real fans of English football. Even Prince William tweeted against the racial abuse. That is all for the week. Let me know what you all think in the comments. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Next up, I'll be talking about the series Loki, which just got over. I will also be talking about more sports next week. Silverstone Grand Prix, Sri Lanka versus India, England versus Pakistan, and Zimbabwe versus Bangladesh. Thank you and see you all soon.